Okay guys, brief update. Car is at my house. Got it from my parents' house the other day. Trailered it over here, unloaded it, and I guess it was yesterday evening. So car is here. Again, it's been sitting in the garage for quite some time. It's covered in dirt and dust, and it needs to be gone through. I took it apart at one point in time. Like I said, the car was red, so the trunk is still red, but everything else has been painted black. And it's dirty, but tan interior. So we are in the process of getting the car clean, getting the car's interior sort of put back together, or maybe even further apart, depending on what I do for wiring for the unit. A couple options there. Don't really have a mind set up. Open to doing some more research, trying to figure out what we're going to do on a standalone for this motor to integrate it into this car. So at least it's here. Time to get cleaned up. As I mentioned in the last video, we did snag a K24 A2 out of a TSX. It does have the smaller intake cam, but I don't know yet. Last time I mentioned doing drop-in cams, but I've heard a lot of really good reviews about just keeping this factory cams or even getting the bigger intake cam, and it should give me what I want to see out of the car to begin with. So this is it. Element is still outside in one piece, running and driving. I think the next step is to push this car. I'd like to get it cleaned up, but push this car over into this corner. Get it out of the way, kind of, sort of, and where the neighbors can't see it, obviously, and then pulling the element long ways, and then starting to take parts off of it. We're snagging basically the entire drivetrain. I did meet a guy on Facebook, which I don't know how this happened, but it's exactly what I needed to happen. I did snag the rear piece of the front subframe, the rear diff mount, and the rear, I guess they call it the mustache bar, that actually holds the backside of the diff. So these are the three pieces that I was really concerned about, because I figured these are the pieces I'm gonna have to modify. I really don't want to cut up my stuff. Just in case this doesn't work, I can always go back with the nice clean pieces that I had. And if I modify and it does work, then at least I have another spare set in case I want to do another car or do somebody else's car or something like that. So got these items. I was pretty excited about it, because you don't really, like I said, you don't really find a whole lot of this stuff anymore unless somebody has part out. These were actually sitting in this dude's backyard covered in grass. So he parted out a car, kept these items, and I messaged somebody on Facebook. It was actually K24 DSM, asking if anybody had these, and the guy had them just laying in his backyard. So pretty cool snag. Really excited about that. Really excited about this. As far as the motor goes, originally was going to run the element motor in this car and put a different head on it. And then I found out it didn't have as good a crank, which apparently the crank in the element is still really, really good. Bottom end is. I was gonna put a head on that, run that at least to get it in the car, get it running, driving. And then I was gonna build a motor for the goals that we talked about previously, put a turbo on it, make like 500. And found this one to build, right? I needed a decent block and a decent crank, and that's what this was. And then it is actually really, really clean inside. I don't know how many miles this car had on it, but it is a little tarnished, but everything is super clean. The car that came out of it was wrecked in the front, but nothing major. So I'm sure this thing was running and driving whenever it hit the junkyard, or before it got wrecked. So the state inspection on the car was like 924. So it was a good snag. We weren't even really looking for it. We just went out there, and my buddy said there was one. I thought he was gonna buy it, and then he told me he was gonna buy one through an importer. So this was my motor. So we pulled it in about an hour and a half, and here she sits. So this is the motor. It won't be built quite yet. What we're gonna do is we're gonna run the all-wheel drive 5-speed out of the element behind this motor, and leave it completely stock outside of doing a VTC cam gear and a RSX oil pump, and do obviously gaskets and seals, oil pan gasket, and it'll get a new clutch. And I got to rebuild the transmission of the 5-speed, so that'd be about it. And I think that it'll be a decent, reliable motor. Normally aspirated, I would think that it would be just what I need for the time being, with a tune, and at least enough to get around town and make sure that it works. So that's a brief update. This one isn't very long. You guys probably don't want to really listen to me, all 7 of my viewers. So this is the car. Next step is, like I said, get it cleaned up. I need to wash it for sure, and then get the element here, start tearing it apart. So yeah, the element needs to find a new home because it is not part of this build. I've had a lot of people concerned about me cutting one up, just told me to turbocharge the element and go hurt some people's feelings, but that's not what I started this project to do. So I'm trying to stick to the plan. 1 car, and then if I ever want another element, I'll go try and find one. But anyways, hopefully that doesn't happen. So here's the car, here's the motor. Step 1 is get everything in one piece, or one place, and get everything clean, and we will start putting the motor side by side, see basically where the 6-bolt falls in the cradle. We're gonna go off of center line on the axle for the transmission, or the little stub shaft between the transmission and the I guess it would be the driver's side axle. So it comes out of the transmission, goes to the driver's side axle. That little jack shaft between the two is what I'm gonna use for my center line. This one, actually, we had the jack shaft off this one too. I call it jack shaft, I don't know what it is, but bolts up here, goes to here. It's actually supposed to go in the transmission, but I don't have a transmission for this one because it's still in the car. But we are going to center up off of that to make sure that the drive line and the axle position in this, with this motor, is the same as with that motor. So we shouldn't have any issues with engine placement once that is centered and the jack shaft is centered. Then we can mount the motor based off of that. That's the plan. Plans might change. I'm really not sure if this is going to clear, which I know is probably not going to clear the rear subframe, because the differential's in a different spot on this engine, right? The DSM, it actually over here, and then I'm not real sure how the Honda stuff fits into here. So worst cases, we might have to clear some of this. What I'm concerned about is the factory sway bar for the Eagle. It does come like right under here, and then it makes this loop. It kind of follows this curve. So I don't know how much room I can even cut out of this and keep the factory sway bar. But we're going to see. As long as the steering rack still fits in there, I can do without a front sway bar for a little bit, or figure out another option on the sway bar. So biggest thing is trying to make the motor diff fit and the transfer case fit, and then we'll go from there. Anyways, appreciate it, guys. Like I said, little brief update. Everything's in one place. Time to start taking some stuff apart. Appreciate it.